Jai, my name is Payal Bhadoria and I am in class 12th D. Today I am going to explain chapter 7 Indigo. This chapter is an extract taken from Louis Fisher book The Life of Mahatma Gandhi. The question arises in our mind that why this chapter is so important. The chapter Indigo emphasizes the fact that effective leadership can solve any kinds of problems without any harm to anybody. This chapter deals with the way Mahatma Gandhi solved the problem of poor sharecroppers of Champaran in a non-violent way. About the author. Louis Fisher, the son of a fish peddler, was born in Philadelphia on 29 February 1896. He was a Jewish American journalist. Fisher made a career as a journalist and wrote for the New York Times, the Saturday Review, and for European and Asian publications. He served as a volunteer in the British Army between 1918 and 1920. He was also a member of the faculty of Princeton University. What is this lesson about? The story is based on the interview taken by Louis Fisher of Mahatma Gandhi. In order to write on him, he had visited him in 1942 at his ashram, Sevagram, where he was told about the Indigo movement started by Gandhiji. The story or lesson is revolves around the struggle of Gandhi and other prominent leaders in order to safeguard sharecroppers from the atrocities of landlords. So basically in this chapter, we will see that how Mahatma Gandhi was able to led a Champaran movement, and Gandhiji has a powerful magnetic attraction and the ability to pursue others. Indigo theme. What is the theme of this chapter? The chapter Indigo emphasizes the fact that an effective leadership can solve any kind of problem without any harm to anybody. Summary. Indigo is about how Mahatma Gandhi struggled for the unprivileged peasants of Champaran. They were the sharecroppers with the British planters. The peasants used to live a very dreadful life and were under an agreement to grow indigo. Farmers were dominated by the Britishers and forcefully work on indigo fields. As Bihar has the landlord system back, then it was worsened their condition. Thus, Gandhiji decided to fight against injustice. He waged a war which lasted for a year to tackle the discrimination and got justice for the peasants. After that, it had the peasants become courageous and aware of the fundamental rights. Moreover, Gandhiji did not just work to tackle political or economic issues, but he also took up social issues. He worked to provide them with education, health, hygiene, and taught them self confidence. Main characters in the story. The main characters in the stories are Mahatma Gandhi, landlords, Rajkumar Shukla, poor farmer, Rajendra Prasad, and other advocates. The Sevagram experience. The author explains his first interaction meeting with the Mahatma Gandhi. He says that he first met Mahatma Gandhi in 1942 at his ashram, which was in Sevagram. It was located in central India. Gandhi said that he would tell him about his struggle against the British, which first took place in the year 1970. Rajkumar Shukla. Who was Rajkumar Shukla? Rajkumar Shukla is a poor peasant in Champaran in Bihar. He was illiterate but resolute. He had come to the Congress session to complain about the injustice of the landlord system in Bihar, and somebody had probably said, "Speak to Gandhi." He played a very significant role in Champaran movement. Champaran in Bihar. Champaran is a district in Bihar at the foothills of Himalayas. Britishers owned land estates. Indian farmers worked tenants in Champaran. An incident that affected Gandhiji, December 1916 annual convention of the Indian National Congress at Lucknow. There were about 2,301 representatives and visitors. Gandhi recalled that a small farmer named Rajkumar Shukla came to him, who was poor and thin. He requested Gandhi to visit Champaran, a place in the foothills of the Himalayas mountain range near the kingdom of Nepal. Rajkumar Shukla from Champaran. He told Gandhi that he was a sharecropper. A sharecropper is a farmer who gives a part of the crop as rent to the owner of that piece of land that he cultivates. He told him that because of an old agreement, many of peasants in Champaran were sharecroppers. He had come to meet Gandhi on someone's suggestion as he was determined to find a solution for the sharecroppers who were facing hardship due to landlord system in Bihar. After hearing his problem, Gandhi told his that he had to visit Count Kanpur and some other parts of India due to prior appointments. Shukla went with him everywhere. Gandhi was impressed with the determination of peasants. He said that he would be visiting Kolkata after a few months and that Shukla should meet him there. On the day that had been fixed, Shukla was eagerly waiting for Gandhiji. When Gandhi got free, they both took a train to Patna. Then they went to the house of a lawyer, Rajendra Prasad, who later became the President of India. When they reached there, he was not at home, but the servant allowed both of them to stay at the grounds because they knew Shukla. They all knew him because Shukla used to assist their master in helping indigo sharecroppers. They didn't allow Gandhi to draw water from their well as they took him to be untouchable and didn't want to pollute the entire water source. Professor J.P. Kiplani and his students. Shukla was not able to provide Gandhi with adequate information, therefore he decided to go to Muzaffarpur, which was on the way to Champaran, to obtain more information. He sent a telegram to Professor J.P. Kiplani, who was a teacher of arts college in Muzaffarpur. Gandhi had seen him at Tagore Santi Niketan school. Gandhi took a train to Muzaffarpur that arrived at midnight on 15 April 1917. Kiplani was already waiting there with his students. Gandhi stayed there for 2 days at Professor Malkani house, who was a teacher in a government school. Here they stayed at Professor Malkani house. Professor Malkani was a government school teacher. It was an unusual thing for a government employee. Problems faced by farmers in Champaran. Farmers were forced to grow indigo in 50% of the land. These were later taken away by the British as the rent. Germans had developed synthetic indigo. The British wanted to make the best of this last opportunity. So the Britishers are also wanted to make a synthetic indigo instead of to grow it in a field. They started charging compensation to release their lands. Some farmers signed, but on realizing the fact, they sought help from the court. Gandhiji tried to analyze the situation by talking to the lawyers who were representing the case of the peasants. During the course of conversation, he discovered that lawyers had been charging high fees from the peasants. Gandhiji scolded the lawyers on knowing about it. Gandhiji decided to change the course of action. As these courts were run by British, there were lesser chances of getting justice. Gandhiji resolved to free the people of fear from the rule. When Gandhiji arrived at Champaran, he decided to gather the facts because Rajkumar Shukla did not provide him the more information or adequate information. For this, he visited the secretary of the British Landlord Association. The secretary didn't answer him because he could not give any information to an outsider, but Gandhiji is not an outsider. After this, he went to the commissioner of the Tirhat division. Champaran district was under Tirhat division. The commissioner not only threatened Gandhi but also suggested him to leave Tirhat immediately. He then went to Motihari, which was the capital of Champaran. He was joined by several lawyers. When they reached the station, they were welcomed by a large number of people because at this time Gandhi became a very famous figure. Gandhi decided to visit a nearby village when he came to know about an incident of ill treatment with a peasant. He was on his way on an elephant when the supervisor messenger stopped him and ordered him to return back to the town. Gandhiji followed him and the messenger took him back to his home. He was then served a notice which ordered him to quit his movement and return back. Gandhiji received the notice and signed a receipt on which he wrote that he would not obey the orders. Gandhiji received the summons to appear in court the next day. All night, Gandhi remained awake. He was not able to sleep properly. He telegraphed Rajendra Prasad to come Bihar with influential friends. Morning found a town of Motihari black with peasants because the peasants were very motivated by the Gandhiji and they were here to support Gandhiji. They had merely heard that a Mahatma who wanted to help them was in trouble with the authorities. Their spontaneous demonstration in thousands around the courthouse was the beginning of their liberation from fear of the British. Gandhiji objected against the delay in the proceedings of the case. He read a statement in from front of the court in which he accepted his fault in a very humble manner. He said that he was not a law breaker and didn't want to go against the law, but his duty towards humanity has a greater influence on him and it forced him to do so. He refused to leave the town because he wanted to help the sharecroppers as it was his moral duty. The magistrate asked him to arrange for bail because he was going to give his judgment after the 2-hour long break. Gandhiji refused to seek bail and later on he was released without it. However, they decided to court arrest, registering their fight against the injustice meted out to the sharecroppers. This marked the beginning of the victory of the Battle of Champaran. Gandhiji's principle of civil disobedience had proved successful. The lieutenant governor dropped the case against Gandhiji. Now Gandhiji was in trouble. Gandhiji went ahead to inquire further in the grievances of the farmers. Statements of about 10,000 peasants were recorded and various documentary proofs were collected. The lieutenant governor again summoned Gandhiji because the civil disobedience launched by him set the stage for greater trouble. Finally, a commission of inquiry was appointed. The sharecroppers armed with Gandhiji and protests against British officers were afraid. Gandhiji represented the peasants. The British landlords agreed to refund the money. Gandhiji agreed to refund of 25% of the original amount. This was signatory of the victory of the suppressed as well as surrender of the British. Gandhiji did not stop at this political victory. His real aim was social and cultural upliftment of Champaran. He initiated a campaign of social welfare. He set up schools and health centers. His family joined him in these tasks. A brief visit to a remote district existed for more than a year. The Champaran episode was a turning point in Gandhiji's life. What I did, he explained, was a very ordinary thing. He declared that the British could not order him about in his own country. This incident marked a turning point in the life of Gandhiji. His unconventional way of politics became apparent. His focus remained on the common man problems, seeking liberation through self-reliance. Learning objectives. What we have learned in this chapter. So in this chapter, we learn about forgiveness and peaceful means can be more effective than revenge and violence. Why and how rules and laws are made and enforced, why different rules are needed in different situations, and how to take part in making and changing rules. To think about the lives of people living in other places and times and people with different values and customs. To realize the nature and consequences of racism, teasing, bullying, and aggressive behaviors and how to respond to them and ask for help. The Champaran incident was a turning point in Gandhiji's life and he was able to understand the gist of the India's problem. It was more than a victory. With this episode, he was able to hack down the cruel Britishers with his determination and intelligence. Thank you.